How do I choose a business that feels aligned with me and not just profitable? Now, I've heard this question before. There are people out there who think they are going to be happy with any business that makes money. And some of you may actually be right, but I can tell you, I've talked to thousands of entrepreneurs over the last 20 plus years. And what I've seen is that you can succeed and still lose. I've met many business owners who are financially successful and miserable. They're burned out. They want to escape their business. Some don't like it because of the work they're doing. Others may be drained by the politics or travel or the employee profiles in their industry. Some have even come to resent the customers they serve. Now, a business can be a powerful tool for freedom. The freedom to set your priorities, determine how to spend your time, and the financial freedom to do what you want with the people you want without the financial limitations that hold other people back. But the truth is, a business can also be a way to build your own prison. That's why I'm a huge advocate of taking the time up front to get clear on what you want and how it aligns with both who you are and the lifestyle you want to create. Now, I just had an experience with this the other day. A friend brought me a business investment opportunity, and it was intriguing. It was intriguing because it was a chance to work with a couple of people I truly love. It was an existing business with a couple $1 million in revenue, so I could see how I could add value to this business. And yet, I didn't feel any connection to the offering. So my motivations in even considering signing up as a partner were really FOMO. I didn't want to miss out potentially on a deal with two friends and the chance to make some money. And after reflecting on it a little bit, I realized there's a lesson that keeps coming up for me in life, a life where I've chased a lot of shiny objects over the years. And that's that sometimes I have to say no to good in order to make space for great. And so I want to give you 3 ideas of how you can put yourself in a position as you think about buying or starting a business to do it with great alignment so that it works for you in the long run. Okay, idea number 1. This is what I call take it for a test drive. So I'll give you a couple client examples. We had a client, Ed and Connie Bonneau. They thought they wanted to buy a bed and breakfast, but they had never owned a bed and breakfast before. So they went out and did some research, and they found an organization that does training on bed and breakfast ownership. And that included a preview where they were able to actually run a bed and breakfast for a week. And that is what helped them get the conviction to say, yes, this is the thing that's going to work for me. Another client, Robin Taylor, had a friend who brought her this franchise opportunity. He wanted to partner with her on it. He had worked with her in the past and thought she would be a great partner to help get this thing off the ground. But her background was in corporate training, not what this particular franchise did. So she was really nervous about whether it would be a good fit. And she shared this with her partner, and what the partner ended up doing was arranging for her to shadow another franchisee for a week. And that helped her get clarity on both what that role was going to look like and how she could translate her experience into making this thing work. One more example I'll give you is from a woman named Lisa Song Sutton. She saw an opportunity in a postal box business, but she was a recovering attorney. So she got trained to be a lawyer, but didn't know anything about running this type of business. And so what she ended up doing was negotiating with the local owner of a mail business that had a postal box component to it. And she said, listen, I want to come work with you for 2 weeks. And if you let me do that, I'm going to pay you $10,000. I'll sign a non-compete that's going to protect your area around your store. And at the end of the 2 weeks, I'm going to be creating this operations manual that I'm going to use to start my business. I'll give you a copy of this manual and you can use it maybe to train your team. So it's another example of someone doing a test drive. The second thing I want to talk to you about is I'm going to pull up here this owner business fit framework, because this is another way to think about the alignment with the business opportunity. Now, I'll have to go through this more in depth in a future video, but I want to point out in this image 2 key intersection points between you and your business. The one intersection point is where your passion, the problems you care about solving in the world, align with the customer need of the business, the problem that this particular business solves. Now, I'll give you an example. I have a very strong personal alignment with my company that I run right now, Guidance Financial, because I, at my core, care deeply about helping people take ownership of their lives and achieving their full potential. And so there's strong alignment for me with this business that then helps people access capital they need to buy or start a business. It's the literal definition of taking ownership. But I want you to think even more broadly about this alignment, because this same thing that I care about deeply is why I signed up to coach my son's 13U club baseball team. It's the same idea. I got to live that, investing in people to help them achieve their full potential, coaching baseball. So it can show up in a lot of different ways. But that is where your passion aligns with the customer need of a particular business. The other intersection point is where your skills, so what you're naturally good at, align with what powers the economic engine of a business. And so I'll give you another example. One of my college roommates purchased a boat distributorship. Now, in a boat distributorship, what drives that economic engine of that business is really sales and business development. They have a manufacturer that builds the boat. He doesn't need to build the boat. What he needs to do is find and connect with and build relationships with the customers that are going to buy these high-end fly fishing boats. And that was perfect for my buddy Scott because not only does he love the outdoors, he spent 15 plus years of his life selling medical devices. So not only has he done sales and business development at the highest level, he's had some of the best training in the world that's out there on how to do sales and business development well. So that's my idea number 2. Now, idea number 3, interview people who've walked the path before. And the best way you can do that is to interview people who are operating the same type of business that you're considering. Now, ideally, this is not the person selling you the business because their incentive is to tell you what you want to hear, not what you need to hear. And this is where franchisees have a leg up because if you're going to buy into a franchise, there are going to be lots of other owners that own the exact same type of business in different geographic locations that you're going to be able to talk to. But I'll share one other thing with you is that I've got a friend who runs an 8-figure business that helps private equity companies find industry experts. Now, they find these industry experts for these private equity companies because they help them consult on these acquisition deals, both figuring out if they should do these acquisition deals and potentially being involved in the first few months as they get these deals onboarded into their portfolio. Now, I spent some time with him a few months back and really had him lay out his entire process for how they reach out to, how they engage, and how they interview these key experts. And what I'll do is I'll leave a link to the guide in the comments if you want to check it out, because I think with a few modifications to the email and call scripts, this is the kind of tool you could use to engage business owners in your area, to be able to reach out to them and say, hey, I'd love a few minutes of your time. Here's what I'm trying to do. Again, I'll point you in the comments section to that document because please don't say, I want to spend some time picking your brain, because if you ask someone to pick their brain, they're probably going to say no. But let me give you one more example before I let you go. One of our clients, Terry Candelaria, her and her husband were considering opening a smoke shop in rural Arizona. And so what they decided to do is they went and talked to 3 owners of similar smoke shops in Phoenix, Arizona. And they found the owners were super open to sharing with them because they wanted to share some of their knowledge. And also they weren't going to compete with them for the same customers that were way out in rural Arizona. So my final message here is do not underestimate successful people's willingness to share their wisdom with you. They're often hard to get in front of and hard to get to pay attention to your message, but they're often very willing to share about the path that they've walked and to pay it forward. So if you've got other ideas about how to think about finding the right business, please drop it in the comments, and I will see you next time. Cheers.